Hey, everybody, and welcome to another segment of AstrologyAnswers.com's weekly forecast. My name is Terence. The week begins on Monday, February the 6th. Now, on the 5th, yesterday on Sunday, was the full moon in outgoing dynamic Leo. The moon, it continues in Leo today, but the full moon can trigger a lot of emotional reactions for a couple of days after it peaks. So as we go into this Monday and Tuesday, our excitement level is high, but there's positive energies because Mercury, what is on your mind? What are you curious about? What are you planning? The Mercury will be in harmony with inspirational Neptune. This is very favorable for the imagination, for being inspired by others. Can also be very favorable for looking at the future in an inspirational way. But back to the moon in Leo, because it's going to go void of course at 6:16 a.m. Pacific time until 1:15 p.m. Pacific time. And as I say every week, when the moon's void of course, it's not making any aspects to other planets in the chart, so the energy tends to be more flat and unproductive, and therefore you don't want to launch a major new project with the moon void of course. But at 1:15 p.m. Pacific time, the moon leaves that extroverted, fiery Leo and goes into Virgo. Virgo is more sensible, practical, work-oriented. So maybe after a big, exciting weekend for many of you with that full moon in Leo, now it's Monday. It's like, let's get back to work. That Virgo with the work tasks. Let's get back to our diet. Let's clean up the house. Let's just get more grounded here. But with the Mercury, excellent with Neptune, it's not going to be this ho-hum drudgery routine of getting, the fun time is over and now we got to get back to work. Because that Mercury-Neptune can be very inspiring. And on Tuesday, the moon continues in Virgo. It will be in a stressful angle to impatient, irritable Mars in the early afternoon, around 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Pacific time. And this too shall pass, but you may be feeling more anxious, more irritable. So you wouldn't want to be having any personal discussions or trying to interview meetings or looking for a job, but it's only for an hour or two. But Venus, the planet of relationships, cooperation, a little romance, Venus will be in harmony with Uranus for the entire day. Creatively, you could be coming up with more original ideas. But relation-wise, Uranus can be triggered the sudden, the unexpected. So that Venus-Uranus could bring a sudden infatuation. Uranus also rules friendships and group activities, and you might be socializing more with a group or an organization. On Wednesday, the moon continues in service-oriented Virgo. But around noon, 1 p.m. Pacific time, the moon will be in conflict with nebulous, foggy Neptune. So there might be some emotional disappointments, misunderstandings, miscommunications for an hour or two. But later in the day, early evening Pacific time, the moon will be in harmony with communication Mercury. So whatever was unclear earlier in the day, that Neptune is that foggy, nebulous energy. Then the moon favorable with Mercury. Mercury is this rational energy. And so with the moon, you might be able to, really talk it out and resolve and come to an understanding of what was a misunderstanding earlier in the day. So the day wraps up favorably. On Thursday, now the moon is in Libra. The moon setting that emotional tone. Libra is that win-win, cooperative, sociable, friendly energies. But it's going to be opposite Jupiter in the mid-afternoon Pacific time. Jupiter is all this expansiveness and optimism. But when the moon is opposite, it's because of other people. You might be, they might be promising you, or you are expecting some really good things. With the Jupiter, when any aspect is in tension with Jupiter, Jupiter is the great benefic in the zodiac. But the downside of Jupiter, when it's being more stressed out, can overinflate, overdo, overindulge. But usually with all that overdoing energy, you're feeling really upbeat and optimistic. You just may regret later that you spent too much money, you drank too much alcohol. Now, on Friday, the moon continuing in Libra, an air sign. Air is all that talking, ideas, communications. The moon in Libra will be in harmony with the sun. The sun's in Aquarius. Aquarius is an air sign. Libra is an air sign. So when the moon and the sun are in harmony, overall, it's a day of ease when things more comfortably fall into place. And Mercury, discerning decision-making Mercury, will be crossing over Pluto, meaning that what you're interested in, what you're thinking about Mercury, is being focused on all things Pluto. Pluto can rule the underworld. So this could be when some of you might be really interested in getting an astrology reading, a psychic reading. But Pluto also can rule psychology. This could be a great day for counseling, also a great day for introspection. On a more mundane level, this could be a good day for researching or really getting really focused and probing and studying educational wise. On Saturday, now the moon is in Scorpio, starting around 10:35 a.m. Pacific time. Libra, when the moon's in Libra, it's so much more sociable. When the moon goes into Scorpio, you're going to see more of a tendency that people want to be more private, more introspective, just keeping more to themselves. But when the moon goes into Scorpio, right after that, it's going to be in tension with rational Mercury. Now, the moon's emotional. And when it's in tension with Mercury, it can trigger a lot of biased opinions, a lot of being irrational. Now, it's only lasting for an hour or two, but this could be around 11 a.m., noon Pacific time, when personal discussions could be overly emotional and not very rational. Then on Sunday, the moon continuing in Scorpio. And with the moon in Scorpio, many of you just may want to be left alone, be with your thoughts, be introspective. There's a lot of wanting privacy. But by mid-afternoon Pacific time, the moon will be opposite, interacting with others, Uranus, surprising, unpredictable Uranus. Now, that can trigger a lot of unexpected emotional surprises or upsets, but also it's a really favorable time if you've been finding yourself getting into a rut And with the Scorpio, you're doing a lot of soul searching, introspection about it. Then with the Uranus, you can feel more compelled to shake things up and get out of a dull routine and try something new, getting out of a stuck pattern. So I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you next week with my next segment. Until then, be safe and well.